Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Carmel Gilbert, writer, editor, and self-publisher of the book The House of Addiction. The House of Addiction is an autobiography of my life story while being addicted to alcohol for over 30 years. And today I'd like to talk about life without a mother. But before I get into that, I'd like to encourage you guys to check out the description box because there may be some things in there that, that will enlighten my videos. Um, my mother was, as I said in my video, I'm sleeping with an old man at age 12. My mother was an addict. And as I said also that she really didn't pay much attention to us. She was always gone. Um, my mother was the type that never really discussed anything. She was more into her drug friends and her boyfriends. As I said in another video, I never seen my mother beg. I never seen her look bad. She was educated far as I was concerned. Um, my mother, I, I mean, she was just very, she like, detached herself from us. I mean, it was very difficult because when you grow up and you feeling like you're not loved by your mother for whatever reason. At some point, I knew my mother was getting high, and I didn't understand the dynamics of being an addict. I didn't know that that was considered an illness. I never really looked down on my mother. I really didn't, and I always respected her regardless of what she was going through. But what I didn't understand about my mother is why she always put others before us. My mother made promises that she did not keep. Um, but regardless of, the things that my mother did or didn't do for us, she um, made it up with her grandchildren. My mother absolutely adored her grandchildren. And there were times when I watched my mother interact with her grandchildren, particularly my children, and I would wonder why couldn't she show the same type of love for her grandchildren, for us, as she did for her grandchildren. It was just very, very hard to just see her lavish her love on others and not us. I really believe that had I gone into the um, the system, if Child Protective Services would have came and taken us away, I believe that would have been better than living with my mother in her condition. Um, I was just basically lost. Um, I believe my siblings felt the same. Just the way we looked, we was really just dirty children. Um, I guess best to describe me at that time was a drifter. Even though I had a place to live, I just felt like a drifter. I didn't know what way to go. I was just completely lost. Um, at that time, I didn't know that my father also was on drugs. He described to us in one conversation that he was really, really out there. Um, I just, I mean, I started drinking at age 12, and I did the very, very best for my children. And I knew that my mother's addiction affected my life. And I didn't want um, my addiction to affect my children's lives. But as I said in one video, I believe that my children were affected by my drinking. I think if there's any parent out there that's addicted to something, that eventually their children will feel the effects of that. Um, I had very low self-esteem because when you go through life and you feeling unloved, it's just an emptiness that dwells within you, um, that no one can feel except your mother or except your father. Um, the world is a very cruel place to live in. You will rarely find people that will actually give a daggone about you. I never came across anyone that actually cared. Um, while raising my kids, I wanted them to feel love. Um, I knew that there was a time where I wouldn't be with my kids. I didn't know if God would take me away today or tomorrow, but I wanted to make a mark. I wanted my children to know that regardless, if God take me today or tomorrow, I want you guys to know that I love you. And if I did anything wrong, I do apologize. I do believe in parents apologizing to their children if they feel they should. Because for that very reason, you don't know if you're going to be taken out the next minute. My mother never apologized for anything that she ever did. And that absolutely devastated me. I was just mortified. I was angry. When the doctor um, came in the room, well, let me move back a little bit. It was one day I was in the house. It was probably about like 1 a.m. My mother had gone to the hospital, as she have done many times. And one particular time when she went, I was drinking in the house. And I went to sleep, and a policeman knocked on the door. And he said, "You need to come with me to the hospital, John Hopkins Hospital." And for some reason, I knew that my mother had passed. There's no words to describe that feeling. No words at all. I remember feeling just very abandoned again. Even though I felt in my heart that my mother passed, I just felt abandoned again. When I got to this hospital, my siblings was already there. And for some reason, I did not want the doctor to tell me that my mother passed away. I don't know why I didn't want a doctor to tell me that, but I just didn't want a doctor to tell me that. So I asked the officer that came to my house that actually brought me there. I said, "Excuse me, sir, did my mother pass away?" And he said, "Yes, I'm so sorry for your loss." And it was just a piercing grief that came over me. I was upset with my mother. I was mad with her. I was mad because she died. I was mad because she died. Because I felt abandoned again. I felt like she forsaken me again. You know, that might seem a little selfish, but that's how I felt. And then on top of that, I felt guilty because I didn't accompany her as she went to the hospital. I didn't go visit her while she was laying, dying in a hospital bed. because I did not want to believe that my mother was that sick to die. And maybe that's why I was drinking so viciously that day, because I just wanted the pain to go away. I just could not, I just did not want her to die. At my mother's funeral, I remember standing up in front of hundreds of people telling her that I'm sorry that I wasn't there on her last days. And I always told God that if I die, please let my kids be there with me. I don't want to die alone. And I really believe that's how my mother died, alone. No one should have to be alone, sickly, on their deathbed, especially if that parent had as many children as my mother did. My mother had 8 children. And I remember my brother was really hurt by the news because he said that our mother asked him to pray with her that particular day before she went to the hospital. And actually, he said our mother called him and asked him, to come over and pray with her before she had went to the hospital. But he had to work, and he told her that he had to work. And when she died, that really devastated him. And to ease the pain, he turned to crack cocaine. Um, that's what I'm saying. If you have anybody, young people, if you have a sickly mother, sickly father, grandparents, or whatever the case may be there for them. Because you may not get a chance to say goodbye. And with that said, guys, I'm going to say I love you and have a drug-free day. Bye-bye.